All right, fellas, Dan here. We're going to take a look at what are your last doubles matches against Mary Washington. A lot of good coming out of that match, and a lot of things we can take a look at and improve from a doubles fundamental standpoint. So buckle up and take a seat and focus in, because plenty of things we can improve on here, most of which will be really easy for you guys to do. Right off the bat, we see an I formation with them getting ready to serve, like I told you they would do. And we also talked about how, in practice, when you see the I formation, you need to return down the line or you need to lob. And when you don't, you're going to lose early and often. And that's exactly what happened in this match in both ways. Here, this isn't even like that good of a return that you hit here, Ivan. This is average for your standards, and the guy has no time to react and blows it and misses it like 8 feet long. And to be clear, when you see an I formation and you're returning, you have to think the strength of that I formation is handling the cross-court return, and the weakness of the I formation is handling the down the line return or the lob. Before we watch this next point again, there's a video I made for the team last year that I want you to watch, and here it is. Taking a look here at a simple doubles concept that you want to avoid when you and your partner are at the net, and that you want to exploit when it happens on the other side of the net with your opponents. The staggered formation enhances court coverage and communication, and cutting off the angles of passing shots, protecting the middle, and covering the lob. The reverse staggered formation essentially does the opposite, opening up clear passing shot lanes and lob opportunities for the other team. And catching opposing teams in this reverse staggered formation is a big benefit of playing two back when your team is returning. And when the returner's partner gets a chance to hit a ground stroke, the lob is wide open, and you can also rip the net guy's face off. So with that stuff in mind, there's a moment in this point that I want you guys to realize in the future that you can exploit. So Ivan, once Jamison dips it low at him and you get this forehand, this is a ball, because they're both a pretty equal distance to the net, that the lob is wide open cross court, or you can tattoo that short kid at the net. Okay, so Ivan, this is what we're talking about. Like, you see the I formation and we have a cross court return that doesn't work. Now, I suppose it's possible that you were just mishitting it and that's why it went cross court, but that's not what it looks like. It looks like you were trying to go cross court and thread the needle. And the problem with that is that there's just way more distance for you to hit to when you go down the line, as opposed to cross court. And this image right here illustrates that. Look at all this distance that the net player has to cover to get the down the line return, whereas the cross court, he barely has to move. I would even argue he's in the wrong spot to begin with. Because of all this, in this next point, Jamison, this is a really good choice that you make. And the fact that the guy's hitting a second serve, for us, needs to make the I formation really stupid for them, because it's going to be obvious for that we're going to go down the line, and now we have a second serve coming, so it's just going to be easier for us to do. Okay, so you guys played a pretty good point here. Ivan, you hit the right return going down the line, seeing an I formation, and Jamison, you looked to take over at the net when you saw them in trouble. On the other hand, there were a number of issues in this match when you guys were on the baseline, and you're either looking to come in when you shouldn't, or you don't need to, or you're on the baseline and you had chances to come in. In this case, Ivan, you've got a partner with an overhead. This is the worst possible situation for your opponents that they will ever be in, is when you guys can set up comfortably for an overhead. So you've got a partner on major offense that's a good time for you to sneak on in and come join them at the net. Okay guys, so this next point really illustrates the problems that playing 2 back can cause the serving team. So Jameson hits the right return after seeing the I formation by lobbing, and then now the server's got to go get it, and now he's going to be in this baseline rally. And the server's partner, who unnecessarily moves back after the lob goes over his head, then has a lot of ground to cover because he doesn't know where his partner is going to hit. His partner could hit cross court, or his partner could hit down the lines, and that has a big difference on where he's going to cover the net. So he thinks initially his partner, the server, is going to hit cross court, so that's where he moves, and then he realizes it's down the line, and so then he's got to shift over like 4 feet near the center line, and now he's rushed for the volley, and then he unnecessarily goes for it. Because he's rushed and because he has all this ground to cover, that's why he makes a rash decision. Okay, so Jameson, I really don't understand this volley at all. So Ivan hits a big serve that hurts the guy. It's great that you're taking the middle, but right here you could hit a drop volley pretty much anywhere, but sticking it down the middle is the easiest way to win this point because the serve takes the guy behind the doubles alley, making the middle wide open. So as the server's partner at the net, you always want to be aware of where the returner has to move to hit that return, so you know if you can pick something off where to hit that volley. Okay, so Ivan, on this next point, once the lob goes over Jameson's head, both of these ground strokes should be 4 hands down the line. And that's true especially for the second one because the second backhand, you've got less time, you're way behind the baseline, and the guy from the baseline is trying to sneak in. Just dip it low down the line. Instead, you're trying to sneak it by the net guy who's in tight. When you're on the baseline, the only time you want to pick on the net guy is when you're on offense, when you got more time and an easier shot. So this is when I came up to you guys and I was showing you where to be to start the point when you're the receiver's partner. Jameson, for you, that just means you're here or here. And if Jameson's returning Ivan, that means you're here or here. And this is just so you can maximize court coverage and minimize how tough any situations you might get. And right away here, Ivan, look where you're standing right as Jameson hits this return. If the net player gets any volley at all, and he'll volley short and you have no chance to cover anything. And the same thing happens the next time Jameson returns, and we're lucky that the net guy hits the shit out of this volley, so you have a chance to get a racket on it, which is really stupid from him. But if he just dumps it short, you got a long ways to run after that. But the biggest problem in this point is the cross-court return, and you can see me walk up to you, Jameson, afterwards, telling you, hey, every time on the I formation, return it down the line or lob it. So Jameson, this is the same mistake Ivan made earlier where you can't go at the net guy unless you can really hurt him. And in this case, just go cross court. You know the guy's staying back. I know you know that the big tall guy's coming in and you think you can challenge him, but it's a much safer play to just go back cross court. Also, Ivan, when the moment the ball crosses by you and goes back to Jamison on the baseline, you've got to shift to the middle and back a little bit. So that way you have your half of the court covered in case the net guy does get a volley. Because if you don't, something like this happens. Okay, so Ivan, for your sake, when I watched this, I was hoping that was a mistimed down the line return that you just caught accidentally out in front, because otherwise, if you're trying to go cross court, then that's a poor decision. And Jamison, I don't know what makes you think you can go to the net in this situation when your partner hits a slow return right at the net guy. If you're going to start on the baseline when Ivan's returning, then you need to be on the baseline. And you need to remain there until you have a good reason to go to the net. And that would usually mean that there's a short ball that you have to get up to and go in on, or they're on defense and you want to sneak in and do a sneak attack. This is none of those things. And the crazy part is it almost worked here, but this is the kind of thing that got you in trouble throughout the match. So Ivan, here on this wide serve, anytime your partner gets pulled wide, you got to cover the middle and sort of move with your partner once you see him moving off the court to his left. You got to move to your left too. That way, you don't leave the middle of the court wide open. And this is exactly what we're talking about in this little moment here. It's not your fault that you lost the point. They played a good point. But at the same time, if you move with your partner and shade to the middle when he gets pulled wide, you're giving your team the best chance to cover the court. Ivan, this is another stupid cross-court return with the I formation. Your forehand is way too good for me to believe that you're aiming down the line there and it doesn't happen. But I do like the idea that you're trying to hit passing shots down the middle. I'd like to see you do that more. Okay, this next point is a good example of the more you guys become educated and well-versed in good positioning in doubles, the more you'll be able to identify and exploit positioning errors in your opponents. So after Jamison hits this smart return in the I formation, both of these guys are lined up on the same half of the court. So there's literally nobody on the right side of the court. So because of this, I would sneak in before this guy hits his forehand, because wherever he hits this forehand, if one of you volleys it to the deuce side, he won't have time to get over there. But even without coming in, you still should have him beat, because with the big guy coming in here, that he's putting his team into the reverse staggered formation, so the lob is going to be wide open for you here, Jamison. So in the future, and both players are up at the net on you, they should be in this staggered formation you see here. But if you see the opposite, the reverse staggered, the lob is wide open most of the time, and if you got something to hit, you can really tattoo the net. So you guys start off this game the way we always want to start. A couple of good serves and some good moves by the net player. So you guys played a pretty good point here, but this is another chance to learn the same lesson we've already learned a few times before, which is to say when your partner's hitting a ground stroke from the baseline and you're at the net, you need to be covering the middle, because otherwise you're leaving the middle of the court wide open. And that's exactly what happens here. Okay, so there's a number of things in this next point that ended up being replayed because of a ball came on the court because of a let that I want you guys to consider. So Jamison, this is really a perfect split step for a wide serve against almost everybody, but this guy has been lobbing every single forehand return throughout the course of the match. And so at some point, you're going to have to decide what adjustments do I have to make. And in this case, I would just split straight up or start a couple feet further behind where you're starting. After the lob, if you guys are going to switch on this one, Ivan, you should make this a forehand. But since it's a backhand, you're hitting from the literal middle of the court. And that means you don't necessarily have to switch on this one, either of you. And if you guys end up staying on this one, and Ivan, you recover back to the deuce side, that would set up a cross-court forehand rally with you and the big guy. And I think we like our chances in that case. So there's a couple more things in this point, so stay with me here. So anytime there's a lob and switch, when you're the net player, you need to hover that center line. And Jamison, once that ball goes back to the baseliner, you need to close in. And because you're not really closed in, there's no reason to try to force this poke. So we'll watch the whole thing one more time and then we'll move on. Here we got a nice serve from Ivan. And the next point, we got another nice serve from Ivan and a nice cross and an angle volley from Jamison. Well done, guys. The start of this point could have been different, but the rest of it, you both played pretty well. It just didn't work out. So Jamison, when Ivan hits his serve, you just need to be a step over in the middle of the box. And you need to time a better split step. Because if you do both of those things, you can get this ball right down the middle without a problem, and you can really hurt the other team. On the other hand, you did a nice job covering the middle when Ivan was hitting, and that gave you a chance to win the point at the end. And here we got another good serve from Ivan and a nice angle volley from Jamison. Well done, guys. And again, Ivan, this is the right return that you're hitting here. Every time you see I formation, you do this as long as you aim for the single sideline down the line, or you lob. Okay, so after this kid acts like he just hit the first ace of his entire life, this next point, Jamison, this is why you got to know where everybody is at all times. So you start off the point with a good lob on the return. But this backhand, this kid's coming in from way behind the baseline. The net player's super in the middle and way on top of the net. Why not just lob down the line? You cause all kinds of problems for them. And generally speaking, you want your shot selection to be predicated on the openings that arise based on your opponent's positioning. Also, the start of this point, Ivan, look where you're starting. You're way behind the baseline. You need to be starting right barely in front of the baseline before Jamison returns. Every time you choose to play two back, that's where you're going to be starting. Okay, guys, so at this point, we got another situation where Jamison, you got to be aware of what's open and where people are. And Ivan, you got to know when to lob. Jamison, if you're aware of where everybody is, right as you're about to hit this backhand, you know that you could pull off a short angle, but that could be risky because Ivan's not over covering the down the line yet. But the lob is wide open because you got a short kid that's closed in a little bit, and that's a better option than trying to deal with the tall guy covering the net pretty well. And Ivan, when you switch, and as Jamison's hitting this backhand, you should be right next to the center service. But you guys did a great job hanging in there in this point and being scrappy and hustling. But this last one, Ivan, you got to lob that again just to be safe. And that way you guys can stay in the point. Here we got a nice serve from Jamison, nice cross and angle volley from Ivan. But hopefully I've given you some things to think about. I'll let you guys watch the rest of this on your own. And look, there's a lot of good things, you guys are doing. But obviously with positioning and shot selection, there's plenty to clean up. And most of it's going to be really easy. It's, what are you doing when you're the server's partner? Where are you moving to? Where are you making split steps? And where are you starting points when you're the receiver's partner? And where you move into afterwards, and what kind of shot selection are you using based on, what you see on the other side of the net. Where are your opponents? Do they have staggered formation? Or are they making a positioning error? Can we exploit it? Stuff like that. So watch the rest of it with that stuff in mind, and we'll see you this week in practice.
Yeah!